It's a real pleasure to get to be here and to talk to you today. I guess where I want to start is, when you hear the word autism, I imagine a particular image might hit your head. It might be the image of a small child, very distressed. It might be a character from a book or a television program. Or maybe it's something more personal. Maybe it's a member of your own family. Or maybe it's even yourself. We all have an image of autism in our head, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's a really important starting point. But awareness of autism isn't enough. There's a big difference between awareness and understanding. I'm aware that Mandarin Chinese is a language, but I don't understand it. So I'm not much use to anybody who only speaks that language. Autism doesn't look like anything, or maybe autism looks something like this. It looks like everything and it looks like nothing. Just as everybody in this room is completely different, so is every single person on the autism spectrum. Now, in recent years in Ireland, we've made a lot of progress, and 86% of autistic children now attend mainstream school. But I suppose there's a reality to this, that maybe sometimes we're a little bit good as adults as washing our hands of responsibility. We all want our schools to be inclusive. We all want our son or daughter to play with the boy or girl in school who's a little bit different. But as adults, do we hold ourselves to the same standards? If someone comes into our interview room and they're perfectly qualified to do a job, but they don't make eye contact, we probably won't give them the job. If we're in our supermarket and we're really tired and we see that lady who lives near us but she's a little bit different, we probably don't go up and say hello, we probably skip to the next aisle. This is really, really important because a generation of autistic people in Ireland who've gone through mainstream school are reaching adulthood. And it's now time for us to make sure that every single autistic person who has unique gifts and strengths and abilities like everybody else has the chance to fully participate in society. I know a little bit about this. The picture in the top left-hand corner, that's me before I joined Weight Watchers. My mother says about me that I never do anything until I'm ready, and then I do it very quickly. And that started at birth because I was 20 days overdue, and then I was born in 25 minutes. And very quickly, my mom could see that there was something quite different about me. I was talkative, but I couldn't make friends. I was very good at the things I was good at, but I was terrible at the things I wasn't. The way my senses worked made it difficult for us to go many places as a family. These differences led me to getting a diagnosis of autism when I was around 5 years old. And I spent the first 3 years of my education in a special school before going to mainstream education with support and ultimately going to secondary school independently. But one of the things that used to strike me growing up was that when you told someone you were autistic, there'd be a real look of panic in their face. They'd want to do something to include you, but they wouldn't know how. As a result, 5 years ago, when I was doing my Leaving Cert, I set up AsIAm, Ireland's national autism charity. And we've now grown to be a team of 12 people. And we have a big vision to make Ireland the world's most autism-friendly country. We believe that many of the barriers autistic people face are nothing to do with being autistic. They're to do with how the world happens to work. So we have a range of programs that target every aspect of society in making it autism-friendly. And what has this got to do with tech companies? Or what has this got to do with the employment sector? We cannot afford as a society to not be autism-friendly. 1 in 65 people in our community are on the spectrum. If we include family members, just under 250,000 people are living with someone in our home. I can tell every big employer here today, you already have autistic staff. I can also tell you, you desperately need autistic staff. And I can tell you that because half of my own team are autistic. And the different way of looking and the intense focus brings a really, really important perspective to the workplace. You have autistic customers, and it simply doesn't make sense to design products or to be a company that does not represent a significant part of the market. So what is autism? We've probably heard a lot of very negative terminology about the condition, but how I like to explain it is a little bit different. I want you to imagine in the morning if you were picked up and transported into a completely different culture. You see, a lot of the time in society, we talk about people being normal and not normal. I don't believe in that, because the reality is normal is very different for all of us. I want to show you very briefly a morning commute in Tokyo. Let's watch this pretty closely. I don't think you're going to find it too normal. You know, I show this video clip a lot, and that's the reaction I get. But the reality is, when I watch this every day, I notice that people don't react at all, because that's completely normal as a part of the day-to-day commute in that city. But imagine for you, if you were picked up without warning, explanation, context, asked to communicate, asked to get through a job interview, asked to understand workplace culture. It wouldn't be very, very easy. You'd try to adapt, but if people met you halfway, not only is it a case that you'd be able to survive, you'd bring a unique perspective and insight to that culture. Autism is fundamentally a different way of thinking. Not a right or wrong way of thinking, a different way of thinking. And if we can make adaptations to make society more autism-friendly, we unlock the brilliance of thinking in a different way. So everybody here who owns a premises or runs an organization has probably heard of accessibility, but we tend to think about wheelchair ramps and lifts. But autistic people face barriers in communication, in predictability, in sensory processing, and sadly in the judgment and attitude of other people every single day. The consequences of this: bullying, social isolation, mental health challenges, an unemployment rate of 85%, and a significantly shorter life expectancy. I'm not saying these to be grim, I'm telling you this thing because it's not inevitable. We as a society, in the depths of near full employment, where we are experiencing a shortage of talent and a talent war, can tap into these people who have a different way of thinking like me. So why is it so hard for autistic people to get a job? The recruitment process and the interview process works based on unwritten communication, based on the gray areas of our lives, which are so hard for autistic people to understand. Workplaces themselves are often unclear hierarchical structures. The sensory environment can often be far from supportive. And indeed, at a time where workplaces are becoming more and more diverse, it still can often be a challenge for businesses to understand people with the invisible condition that is autism. So what can we do? We can autism-proof our recruitment process. We can change the culture of our workplaces to make it more understanding. We can support autistic people who want to tell their stories and make autism something to be celebrated in the workplace. And we can embed autism proofing as part of the universal design process. The recruitment practices, what can we do to make them more autism friendly? Let's have a clearer job description. Let's remove the performance that is an interview and make it about seriously assessing what is the person able to do as opposed to what are they able to talk about. Let's make sure the interview is predictable and sensory friendly. Let's make sure that everybody in our organization, from managers to colleagues, have education about the condition and that the policies within our workplace recognize neurodiversity. Let's ensure that autistic employees that want to disclose know that there's real benefits to disclosure and are empowered to do so. And let's also look at our office environment, and just as we would make sure that it's physically accessible, we would realize that actually accessibility is a legal obligation when it comes to autism also. Check out our quiet space today as a great example of that, and check out the sensory audit tool on our website, which you can use for your own office and organization. We believe the tide is really turning around our discussion of autism. We believe that autistic people have a lot to offer to your business and to our community. And as we see the first generation of autistic people grow up, we need to make a decision. Do we want to live in a society that is truly about equality and inclusion, or do we want to leave 1 in 65 people behind? Please check out our website. If we can ever assist you with anything, we're more than happy to do so. Aisling, my colleague, will be around later today and we'll be happy to take your questions. Join us in making Ireland the world's most autism-friendly country. Thank you very much.